Blessings and welcome back, everybody. Nico and Rob here with another installment of our Integrative Mysticism podcast. And in the wake of the December solstice and all of these powerful transitions going on, ending these long-standing narratives, that we've been experiencing, because that is what the solstice is all about. It's about an ending. It's about a new beginning. It's about a clearing. It's about a turning of the page. It's about changing the book, not just the page. I figured we would talk about cycles. Now, for those of you who have viewed my horoscope content or attended any of my live talks or my webinars, I am a huge fan of assessing cycles and timelines, because when we look at the context of how cycles and timelines play out in our own individual experiences and our collective experiences, the astrology itself, as well as even, yes, the topic of, for some soul groups and for some souls individually, bloodlines, heritage, ancestry, we get an opportunity to see our own lessons for growth, for their criteria, for what it takes, for what the curriculum of our life's lessons and our own personal and collective conscious evolution process is. We're going to be talking all about cycles, how to observe cycles, what our experiences are with cycles, and give some insight into why cycles might repeat, how to observe when a cycle is a lesson, and where we're going as a collective and as individuals, and what the big themes of the cycles that are coming to a close now and the cycles that are getting emphasized now are going to be bringing to each of us to consider and to, of course, deal with as we will. How you doing, Rob?
I'm ecstatic about the new cycle we are about to embark now that winter is upon us. And cycles are exciting for me, Nico, because they kind of constitute the international highway system, so to speak, directing us and guiding us towards being. Should we find ourselves attuned to the cycles that are most relevant to manifesting that which we are meant to be because we have chosen to? And so uh, it's important for us to simply, at first, become aware of the abundance of cycles that are always influencing us constantly, constantly shifting, constantly altering, constantly affecting. Basically, as you've coined the term, the atmospheric weather, the spiritual weather, so to speak. And if we can identify the cycles that are most likely to serve us, because not all of us are going to be so, there's certain cycles that one is more likely to be more in alignment than others, and
Mm-hmm.
so forth. So it's kind of it if we can if we can connect with the cycles that are most relevant to us, it's basically tapping the keg of power, so to speak.
Right.
You will be at your greatest power to manifest, relate to the divine, and bring forth that which is the most authentic creation you can. And I'm just I kind of want to just jump in the show and tell here with the cycles. I'm just curious, is there any particular cycle or cycles that you find most directly aligned and most supportive in your journey?
I think that my way of observing them, I mean, it's not necessarily like there's always one cycle, or there's, whether it's the cycle of the wheel of the year, right? The solstice, the equinoxes, the cross quarters, or the revolutions of the planets. Um, but I do find that we each have individual and collective years getting emphasized every day, opportunities for us to always get back on track, to find the through line, as it were, in our soul's development. So, the through line, for those of you that are not familiar with that term, it's a literary term and it's a playwright term. It's something you hear thrown around a lot in writing circles and in film circles and in theater circles. And essentially, a through line is the primary course of development or the primary story arc or development arc or evolution arc of a plot or a character or any kind of narrative. And so our souls, right, our whole experience has a through line, and the collective has a through line. And because we are also conscious creators and co creators of this reality, there are ways for us to get on our through line. However, there are also things that can interfere or even throw us off our through line. And if you were watching me the last 2 years, there was this big emphasis on the collective getting on its through line, getting on the main organic narrative for its evolution process, free of adulteration or manipulation or distortion. And that narrative hadn't actually been understood or even integrated in complete coherence, even though we've been on this big sort of, more widely or globally available evolution narrative since 2010, just as the preamble to 2012. This through line actually went all the way back to 1992 and 1993, and or that's where the detachment from that through line happened. And so we just came through this huge shift where everyone on the planet is kind of recovering the true narrative collectively, again, without any interference, whether you want to call it interference from saboteurs or interference from well meaning idiots, or maybe it's interference from misinterpretation or anything along those lines. There's now a restoration of how things are supposed to be. And this, again, it doesn't make sense when you put it into words like that, but there's this if you think about the last 28 years kind of being like its own messed up season of a television show that shouldn't have been a part of the show in the first place, it makes a little bit more sense. We're kind of resuming the plot that was supposed to be there. Now we have other collective narratives going on that are starting right now. With my yearly webinar for the astrology and the big energetic shifts of 2022, we're also seeing narratives from 2003, 2004, 1984, 1985. We're seeing narratives and through lines and all kinds of experiences and themes from 2010. And so when we look at the collective stuff that's going on, we can see, all right, we're picking things up almost like we are merging back onto a highway we shouldn't have left. We're going back to a crossroads and we get to choose to take a different direction or take a different lane.
Well, the impression I'm getting is the cycle that is upon us is not so. It's not so much about. I've lost the word for it, but what it's really about is clarity. It seems like the cycle is right to provide clarity for us in terms of thought, intent, willful expression, and creation. And it seems to me that there's going to be a lot of getting up close and personal with ourselves in order to basically grow. Really, I mean, the wool, the proverbial wool is being the proverbial veil is being peeled away to show us, okay, the way, because the time is now. We're ready for it. Like you said, the consciousness has shifted, and there's enough of us now collectively contributing to the new reality creation to support this. That we kind of get caught up in this time of year as being in this cycle as being a fresh start, the new, the new.
Resolution has two definitions. Are you resolved to do something or are you resolving something?
It's important to know that sometimes we will cause a restart of some cycles, the cycle needs to refresh and restart itself in order to further you along, sometimes it will do that.
Well,
And if
because
you kind of see things in a bit of a repeat mode or a Groundhog Day, the cycle could be telling you something.
it's telling you that there's a lesson that's not getting resolved because the cycle is the curriculum of the lesson.
Yeah, exactly. We could almost actually just substitute the two words, curriculum and cycle. I mean, that kind of provides a context, a working context for
Yeah.
us to better understand cycles. What's the curriculum at hand? What is in this class or cycle? Oh, here's the curriculum for this cycle class. Okay,
And
how
sometimes it means
best
go,
navigate that?
yeah. And sometimes that means, all right, as far as what's playing out right now, and you can do this, you can just be like, okay, what is being activated in me right now by this cycle? All right. Whether it's a positive thing or a negative thing. Is something going really, really well that's reminiscent of something else? Is it maybe something going on inside you that, you know, you've been struggling with because it's not pleasant? Is there something you're avoiding looking at because it's not pleasant? These are the things that you can start with. So, something that's been going on in my personal story, and I won't, take up all the time talking about it. But so for me, there's a cycle that I am revisiting that I've been, I guess, given the opportunity to revisit for the year I graduated from high school and the year after. And the choices and options I had, the themes and the stories that were playing out at the time, and what I could do with that or what I may not want to do with that. And of course, it's not literally the same thing, right? But I'm thinking about what was I doing, in at that period. I had graduated high school. I had already got my associate's degree in hand because I was taking college classes in high school. And I already had a job. And I remember I was taking private acting lessons. I can't act, by the way. But I was starting to expose myself to all kinds of different artistic circles, really kind of rubbing elbows with crowds that I didn't think I was allowed to rub elbows with because it was just so far outside of the socioeconomic condition that I was raised up in. And I'm doing that now. It's just on a much more presently relevant scale and level. And all of those senses are reiterated in new forms right now.
So as you elaborate on the past cycle and in terms of it playing out now,
Mhm.
what realization and piece of awareness came first? The recollection of that previous cycle, and then the awareness of the active cycle you're in, or vice versa? To me, a lot of what I'm hearing is a potential call leading us to a blueprint to understand the cycle we are in now or we're in. Basically, you understood what's going on now in your cycle, but
Mhm.
that's not going to apply to everybody. There's plenty of people, and I'm one of them. I've there's been times where I've had no clue what cycle I'm in, personal cycle or the greater cycles that I'm partaking in. But by kind of invoking previous cycles, previous experiences, it can help shed light on the present. You took
Yes.
the opposite route. You took your understanding of the present gave insight to the past cycle. So if you don't have a damn clue of the personal and collective cycles to which you are immersed in, that could be a key to unlocking that awareness.
It absolutely can. And the thing is, um, collectively, I'll give you a bit of a blueprint to play with now. Okay, so collectively, every year we go through a referral point to a 12-year cycle. Like I said, we're going into 2022. It's going to be like going into 2010. which is also, now that I think about it after last night's call, also 1998, which is also 1986. And you can look at repetitious events. No, of course, they're not going to be a one-to-one of one another, but they're there. We have 28-year cycles as a collective as well, right? So 29-year cycles. So we're going from 92 to 93 as a collective and individually. And, again, we have, like I said, we have personal 18-year, personal 9-year cycles. We've got wheels within wheels. And so we can take a second, if we're feeling kind of lost, the ability to self-examine is crucial. If you're going through something, all right, you're stuck at a crossroads, or you're feeling trapped, or you're feeling upset, or you're feeling triggered, or whatever, and it has to do with a bigger deal, whether it's having to do with your career choices, or it's having to do with something that's come up in your family, or it's something that is going on with your relationship or your marriage, or your relationship with your kids, or your social anxiety or your social support system, however you want to look at it.
If you don't know, guess what? The environment is going to become more conducive to come to know, should you be so willing. So cycles are as important to our sustainment, our nourishment, as air, food, and water.
Absolutely, they are. Again, it's the curriculum for our soul's evolution process. So I was going to propose that real quick, I take you through my process. And we can do this all together, everyone. We're going to look at a 12-year cycle and a less intense 6-year cycle. Because if we're going through a 12-year cycle, we're going through a 6-year cycle. And this is something that I did discuss in my 2022 astrology webinar. So we're going to look at the 12-year that we are resolving and beginning right now. And it doesn't matter if you're watching this, in December 2021, or if you are watching it in January 2022. And I know there's a dog barking behind me. I am so sorry. We're coming up on the Christmas holiday, and my neighbors have got people over. So we're gonna just
Well,
let that
to me,
be.
the dog wanted to remind me to tell everyone that your physical body has its own cycles, and that's obvious. But I mean, you basically go through a 7-year cycle where you become a new human.
That too.
Every cell in your body is a completely new cell after 7 years. So you are actually not the same physical being as you were 7 years ago.
Yeah, you are not the same person. It's physically impossible for you to be the same person you were in 2014. Absolutely.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing to hear. Thank you.
Yeah. Everyone, chill. Clear your mind. Take care while driving. We're not going to do a meditation. We're just gonna take a second, and we're gonna go back 12 years. Now, at the time of recording this video, we're going back to the end of 2009 and the beginning of 2010. Just that. If you're watching this video, hopefully this video has the kind of posterity where if you're watching this in 2024, that's fine too, but we're still going back 12 years. Now, we're going to look at what were you doing back at the end of 2009, 2010. You don't have to think about everything. What were your goals, your aspirations, your biggest challenges? Were there any big events, any big exchanges, important meetings? Okay, so again, at least at the time of doing this video, we're looking at the end of 2009, beginning of 2010. And you can expand it a little bit because it's going to be a little bit different for everybody. So let's say July 2009 to July 2010. I want you to look at your life right now, and you will find something. What is trying, whether it's physically already manifested or it's conceptual within yourself, within your relationships, within your exchanges, what is either reintroducing itself resurfacing or rebirthing right now. Maybe it was something that never even came into being. Maybe it was a dream. Maybe it was an aspiration, something that you didn't even get a chance to physicalize. What were you working on?
You have invoked the cycle for myself, my personal cycle within this 12-year time frame. So thank you very much. I wasn't sure what it was until this moment. And for me, I will share, it's reunion. So this I am entering a reunion cycle. And so by illuminating this for myself, I can already envision potentialities that are more probable to occur within the cycle.
Mhm.
And it falls along the lines of the theme of reunion. So thanks for this.
I was dipping my toes into the realm of opening my own business. I had nowhere in my mind any thought of doing something on YouTube or becoming what I've been doing since 2013. I was working on establishing a concept of possibly a center, whether it was a retail shop, a holistic center, magic shop. I definitely wanted to have a magic shop. And I wanted to work on my own line of candles and oils and incense. I also wanted to be able to host events and retreats and things
So
like that.
when's the opening date of the Integrative Mysticism Magic Shop? When you opening up?
Well, I don't know yet, but guess what? That
Oh.
has been something that has resurfaced over the course of this last year. Where do I open this center? Where do I open this establishment? Where do I get this going? Where do I get this physical presence? We all have things that we get a chance to either revisit or maybe even bring forth into being for the first time that we never got a chance to finish as part of our cycle or part of our lesson. There are a lot of other cycles that I can also talk about from that time, but I don't think that we have the time. But yeah, it's the opportunity to really see what is going to help you come back to center, right? Your cycle is your compass, a wheel within a wheel. So that's what we're all going through as a collective. Now, you also have a personal 18-year cycle, a 24, 25-year cycle. We talked about that last night, Rob. We also have a collective 28-year cycle, 29-year actually, technically 29-year cycle.
Yeah, we're dealing with multiple,
Wheels within
numerable
wheels.
cycles,
Wheels
wheels
within
within wheels,
wheels.
folks. And so, to me, you've illuminated. Okay, tap into those memory banks. Go inward. What was
Yep.
happening 12 years ago? Okay, just dig in. What does it reveal to you?
And if you want to get really complex, we're also eliminating the halves of those cycles. So while we are bringing back something to revisit from 12 years ago, we're also concluding, resolving, and eliminating something that was seeded 6 years ago as part of our refinement in the resolution process.
The cycle within the cycle.
The cycle within
Forget
the
the wheel
cycle.
within the wheel. It's the cycle within the cycle.
So collectively, we are purging something, again, going back 6 years or so. What's going on there? And again, this is backed up by astrology. The 12-year cycle, for those of you who are into astrology, that's a Jupiterian cycle. The 29-year cycle, that's very much a Saturnian cycle. Now, of course, our own personal cycles are different because our own personal planets are all over the place, but I'm just giving us something we can work with here. So 6 years ago, 2015, what got seeded in your life? That's going away. It's
I'm personally looking forward to the end of that one for me.
its echo and its legacy dissipating right now as we speak. You want to come back to center. You want to get back in alignment with your through line. You want to reconnect with your soul's true intention for going through this journey in the first place. Pay attention to your cycles. Pay attention to the collective cycles and your cycles at the same time.
Can also help you so immensely is, as I make this very, very much shameless plug, if anybody gets a reading with Nico, I'm sure you're more than willing to cover a cycle if someone wants to, something that happened 10 years ago happening. It's available. You can dig into the charts and you can go to the 6-year point and see that and get really down to specifics.
I'm going to take that and say yes. And you know what? I think I'm actually going to just create a special service just for that. And I'll post that by the end of the year. The end of 2021, because it's the 21st as we're recording this. So that should be up here. I'll probably have that up before this podcast is uploaded. So yeah, I'll have that available. Because illuminating cycles, I find, is in my work with people, it has been so instrumentally effective at helping people to not only isolate their own stories, because again, and when we do our reading, of course, I'm going to be looking at your chart and all that good stuff. I'm going to be able to relate it to, of course, your story with all of your circumstances and, get more specific. I can't do it for thousands of people all at once. Not yet, but soon. But I would be able to help you essentially not only give yourself context, but also, we can whether if it's something negative, we can find a way out. If it's something positive or something that we want back, we can bring it back. We can make it better. It's just a matter of identifying it. The only thing that you have to do, the only caveat that you need to keep in mind, is that you can't be afraid of your past, and you can't be afraid to talk about it. You can't run from it. You have to learn from it. And that's what these cycles help us do. I've had these cycles bring up shockingly humiliating memories. Things that triggered my sympathetic nervous system to go into modes that I thought I had trained my whole sense of self never to indulge. And, whether it was things coming out of junior high, things coming out of adulthood, it didn't matter, but the examination of these cycles also really helps retrain my energy fields and retrain my consciousness to be able to go through this process exponentially more quickly and with a lot more articulation and a lot less unproductive processing.
Yes, cycle attunement maximizes one's efficiency in being. Period. So coming to a greater understanding and detailed awareness of one's personal and interpersonal cycles is pretty much invaluable. And I, for one, look forward to, I'm going to be diving into cycles. I have plenty of reading to do now. It's the topic is very clearly fascinating, and there's so much more available to learn about it. And I encourage you all to do the same. And by doing so, it's going to reveal to us something something basically that even surpasses some of the other divinatory analyses. I mean, I for one, I'm not aware, for the most part, of many people offering such a service that you're going to offer now, where you can come to this kind of clarity and understanding of the cycles. I mean, look at you. You're aligning with the cycle. We just spoke of it, the cycle of clarity. We're talking cycles need more. Yeah, the cycles needed to be brought into the light here. Cycles have kind of just been brushed under the rug and just ignored, and just it needed this spotlight. It's time.
Yeah, we will revisit this, I'm sure. And you guys, let us know what you think. I really want to know, what do you uncover if you feel comfortable sharing? Just looking at the 12-year cycle of what's coming back and the 6-year cycle of what's going away. I would love to see in the comments down below. And if you would, of course, please like and share and subscribe. Rob and I really, really do love showing up for these podcasts. Help us grow this podcast because this is my baby. Rob and I are raising a baby. Help us raise our baby.
And we're here for everybody. I mean, this is a communal endeavor here, and I'm learning along the way just as much as I'm presenting along the way. This concept of the midway point of the cycles as a point of import to understand and to put the cycle into full perspective, and that's invaluable pieces of information. So again, I encourage everyone to contribute on the comments section their own insights on cycles, because I'm sure someone can bring something to the table that we didn't discuss at all that will just really drive home the importance of understanding cycles.
For sure. For sure. Well, with that, guys, we're going to hit the road and we will see you all again very, very soon. Got a couple of other really neat topics we've been kind of rattling around offline. And so if you have anything you'd like to hear us touch on, feel free to offer a suggestion as well. But we're going to take off for now. Hope you all have a beautiful, beautiful end to your 2021. And remember, maybe instead of setting a resolution to do something, set a resolution to resolve something. And with that, I'm going to love you and leave you.
Adios, amigos. Feliz Navidad.